Good evening. This is High Five Reloaded, and this evening we are coming out of a busy carnival period, and we are looking to do some assessment as to how we fared over the season. Is the monies spent on carnival worth it, given the experiences? So welcome to High Five Reloaded. It's Monday, the 23rd of February, 2015. I believe this is the first time I'm hosting the program for the year, so let me wish you Happy New Year. Although we are a couple weeks late, almost 2 months late, actually. This evening, we will be looking at the carnival experience. Some $12 million was budgeted for Carnival 2015 here in Tobago. Well, my carnival experience is sort of limited, given that I jet away to camp this year and had a grand time. But I have a panel of experts in this area who will answer all the questions and who will tell us whether or not the experience was worth the money spent, whether we should spend some more, spend some less, and some assessment. I know that the Secretary for the Division of Community Development and Culture has graded Carnival herself, and she has indicated that it was a success. Maybe it was phenomenally so. But to judge this evening, we have with us Mr. Martin George, attorney at law, and he comments on many issues here in Tobago and on Tobago Channel 5. We also have Miss Beverly Ramsey Moore, who is the manager and captain of Catsin Jammers Steel Orchestra. They placed 5th in the national medium band category this year. And next to her, we have Mr. Aloy Johnson, who is the band leader of Island Mix. And next to him, we have Mr. Terence Sanderford, who is the chairman of NCBA Tobago, that's the National Carnival Bands Association Tobago. We had extended an invitation to Mr. Winston Gordon, the chairman of the Tobago Carnival Committee. However, around 5 p.m. this evening, he declined the invitation. So an invitation was extended, but we hope that subsequently we could have his feedback and his assessment on how we think his committee did. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is High Five Reloaded. We're looking at Carnival 2015, and maybe I should start with you, Mr. Sanderford, as the chair of the Tobago NCBA. From your perspective, was Carnival better this year than last year? Was it a success, failure, just off the bat? What is your assessment of Carnival 2015?
All right, my assessment is that it was better than last year. It had some areas of improvement, and so I can extend on that a little later in the program, but generally it was better.
It was better?
Yeah.
And for you, Mr. Johnson, well, you're the youngest on the panel tonight, and you're a band leader, so you are in the middle of the action. How was the experience this year for you?
Let me just correct something. Good night, everybody. Let me just correct something. Band leader and the spokesperson for Island Mix.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What was your question directly?
How was the experience you this year in the carnival?
Well, individually, it was fantastic. I had lots of fun. Island Mix had a band out, a Juve band, and I had lots of fun. If you're asking me what my take is on Carnival this year, mm-hmm. I will have a different spin than Mr. Sanderford. Yeah, I think Scarborough on Monday night was not nice at all. I was very saddened by what I saw. I was in Scarborough from 5 o'clock until 11:45, and I wasn't too pleased with what I saw.
On Monday evening? On
Monday, yeah.
Okay, we'll come back to elaborate on that some more. Just getting some general litmus testing here. For you, Mrs. Zimor.
I can tell you that for me, Carnival is definitely on a decline here in Tobago. From what I observed, mass Pan, and in particular, it was not as it used to be. As you would have clearly seen that Pan had to come off the road completely. Pan had to come off the road. Yes, the Pan people would have taken that decision, all because there is no proper planning. It is, as Iowa George, some of us, his lyrics in a particular calypso. I wake up one morning and I just realize Carnival come back again. And it has been happening years now here in Tobago. No proper planning, and what you put in, that is what you're going to get from it. And I'm saying that we definitely need to sit down and take a look at Carnival, Tobago's Carnival, to get better results.
Mr. George, in terms of your experience, well, you are not a leader of a band or in a pan side or so on, but as a patron, as an observer, how have you assessed Carnival 2015 to be?
Well, my carnival was it was fantastic. So, from the fets and everything else. And you see, it's a question of what does Tobago want in terms of its carnival product. It's foolish, I think, to attempt to compete with Trinidad at the same time. So that's the idea I floated this morning on the program, and I said that Tobago needs to stop attempting to have a carnival at the same time as Trinidad. Let Trinidad have their carnival in February, March. You have your carnival later in the year, and then you have some of the big bands from Trinidad coming up and join in our celebrations, and then you will have a real proper carnival in Tobago. You will have those big bands coming, and as I said, you have them insist that each band they must work alongside with a Tobago mass band or a Tobago designer or a Tobago band leader, so that you would have a section in each of these big bands. So say, for instance, you have Bliss, you speak to Dean Akin from Bliss, and you say, well, okay, look, Dean, tell your masqueraders, after they play mass in February, let them keep their costumes because we're going to Tobago in September. Right, for Tobago's Carnival. Think of how many persons will take up that opportunity. They're going to come by the hundreds, by the thousands. And then you say, all right, Dean, for your band Bliss, you must have a section called Bliss Tobago, where you take one of the young mass designers or band leaders from Tobago, they work alongside with you, they bring out this section in your band. So therefore, they get to learn the skill, they get to learn the craft, they get to, have the economies of scale by merging with a bigger band, and therefore it gives people now the opportunity for those who didn't play mass before for the year to now have a new costume in the Tobago section of Bliss, or the Tobago section of Tribe, or the Tobago section of Hearts. And therefore, you have a much bigger, brighter, more vibrant product. And then you could have something called a carnival. But the pictures I saw, I mean, they were woefully inadequate. And I agree with Beverly Ramsey more that, it clearly seems that they're not serious, notwithstanding the Secretary for Culture patting herself on the back. She can continue to do that, but I think the results speak for themselves.
No, we expended some $12 million. That's what was the stated budget for Carnival. It could possibly be more or less. Can't verify those figures at this point. Do you think those monies were monies well spent? For you guys who are in the Carnival business, do you see the impact of $12 million expenditure on Carnival for you guys who are in the thrust of the events?
Not at all. At one time, I was in charge of community development and culture in Tobago. And our budget for Carnival in those days was $30,000 and $40,000. Yes.
That was when again?
I was there in 1996, 1996, 1997. And it was $30,000, and we had a grand time. In 1996, we recognized that we had some challenges, and I remember Annette Alfred, who was in charge of culture in those days. We had to come together, call in the stakeholders, the relevant stakeholders, get the communities involved. And then there was an upswing from 1996 onwards. Within the last 5 years or so, nothing much is happening, and it has. I'm saying Carnival is dead. The moment you set up a festival commission, you set up a festival commission. Who are the people on the festival commission? In Trinidad, you have NCC, and you have on that board the relevant stakeholders. So somebody talks of mass, somebody talks of PAN, and all the interest groups. In Tobago,
for the Carnival Committee that is set up, which is separate from the larger Festivals Commission.
From
on that Carnival Committee, isn't there
so
on
that Carnival Committee, you would have them calling meetings every now and then so they invite the interest groups to come on board. Last year in particular, they set up this Carnival City, and the day before Panorama, THA Panorama, bands had to protest because they did not cater for PAN. Who are the planners? And you say that you have our representatives. We will send in from a PAN Trinbago perspective. A budget will be sent in from what we are told at meetings months before. Right up to you call people to talk about PAN. Sometimes the Tobago region cannot provide information to the bands because the Tobago, I don't know what they're doing. They're not providing the information. The only reason why PAN is ready is because we participate in the national panorama. All right, so and it's the same song we're playing for the THA panorama. But in terms of the infrastructure, you know, they're talking about bullying phenomena. We were bullied by the chief secretary to go into the Shaw Park Finance Cultural Complex. And if we did not stand up, we would have gone into a cultural complex to play with no proper acoustics. You know what it is to play metal on metal, sound going up, and being forced. And that is the kind of thing last year, the same thing the day before the panorama last year, we said we are not participating, and the secretary had to get involved, and then you have the Carnival representative, Mr. Gordon. Who is supposed to know better than that and what?
Well, let me try
a set of jokers. I'm sorry that I have to talk like this, but what we have in Tobago is a set of jokers.
Well, let me try to bring Mr. Sanderford in.
Bring him in.
Because he would have seen some improvements from last year. So maybe he could elaborate some more on that in terms of the improvements that he would have seen. So that, you know, we appear to, we be fair to the committee. I want to be as fair as possible to them.
All right, I am only here to speak from an NCBA perspective.
Yeah, certainly.
For mass.
Yes, certainly.
And from our perspective, there was an increase in the quality of mass this year.
Oh, that is not the committee doing, that is the individual bands.
The bands. There was an increase because I would have paid particular attention to it because we are about to embark on something that is totally different, Carnival style, later down in the year. But let me get back to the
I'll pick you up on that later.
Yeah, by all means, by all means.
Listen, look into the television.
There are a lot of shortfalls with the committee. But hear this. It cannot be fixed next year. You need a 3-year development plan if you want to do it. And then too, I want to piggyback on Mr. George's statement in that Carnival, the same time with Trinidad, they would not derive the true potential from it. Facts are that the sponsors, the main sponsors, NLCB, whatever it is, they would pump millions of dollars into the Trinidad Carnival because it brings revenue to them. In Tobago, they would give you 5,000, whatever it is, to do your thing. Having a carnival-style tourism event later down in the year would bring millions of dollars to the revenue. It would also develop the artistic ability of Tobagonians. And generally, everybody would be able to benefit from it. The hoteliers, the taxi drivers, etc. go across the board. But back to the Carnival this year. I would have worked alongside a lot of our band leaders. And you have to take into consideration there are 2 fractions of mass band leaders in Tobago. I represent the NCBA, and I would have worked assiduously with all our leaders, all our band leaders, for them to develop the product. I want to stress a little bit in that the NCBA has already undertaken since last year a developmental plan into the schools to teach children the art of wire bending, the color coding, etc. We also have a business component into it, because when you're spending money, it's a business. It is no longer, I want to bring a band. The second aspect of it, and we are concentrating on two areas, the young and the old. We have started to archive all our old band leaders. We go to them, get information, and we are documenting it because we feel it is of importance that we have something for our heritage. There's nothing now to tell you what year Peter Archer won King of Carnival. That kind of something. And so we are going to them. It's an ongoing process. We have talked to Rochi and some other guys already, and that is in place. Carnival, you can pump $30 million into the carnival, and it would still be stymied if you don't have the correct people. If you don't have the correct people doing the job, and with a passion for it, it would still be ordinary. All right? I look at some areas that was really needed to be dealt with. One of the things, and I have been saying it over a period of time, is that we don't advertise the carnival. Let me tell you something, Mr. Augustine. Carnival is a spirit. Carnival is an energy.
That's right.
It do happen just so, right? Yeah. And yes, you must have a build up kind of scenario before you get into it. You need to go to see mass camps in operation. You need to see a set of banners and flyers and that kind of. You need to put people into that kind of psyche for them to really get into carnival. You need to go back to the business community. And I know the people, usually organizations, and things is not the business community and saying that they don't support it. But here's the thing about it. You wouldn't give money to me if you know you cannot get any returns. And so we have to educate band leaders. We have to hold their hands, walk with them over a period of time, and help them develop the core competencies of carnival. That's the only way you could go forward. Right?
Certainly.
I could talk all night, you know.
Wait, we'll have time to talk again. No, I saw some photographs on Facebook of Juvain Scarborough looking quite like a ghost town almost. There were big trucks, but nobody. It seemed like everybody would have gone either Crown Point or to Roxborough. What's your take on that? Is that a sign of failure, or is it that we need to now begin to reassess the programming and where we're going to have what, and kind of go with where the flow is flowing right now? How do you assess that?
Okay, before I go there, let's just, you asked the question, $12 million, did they spend $12 million? We have to be very careful when we start talking about the money, because they may budget that, but the actual dissemination of the funds don't really take place. And I could tell you that as someone who was sitting in a committee last year. So we're not sure whether they spend all that money or not.
Yeah, and right. I alluded to that. Yeah.
Right, but I share my goodly lady here passion. You see how passionate she is? So I have to be a little bit careful too with my passion tonight. I want to keep it a little cool. Now, let me just start with band leaders. There is a disconnection between band leaders. There is no unity with band leaders, and there should be more unity with band leaders. When you have a disunity with band leaders, you're having a festival commission that's trying to tell us what to do, and it should be the other way around. Band leaders should be telling the festival commissions what we want, and they facilitate us. That is one weakness, okay? So that's where the link is going to crack real easily. Now, we have a Juve in Crown Point, we have a Juve in Roxborough, and our Juve in Scarborough is dying out for a number of reasons. And when you look at Scarborough Juve, it's the symptoms of the real problems that we're having. It's not just carnival. It's a mental shift that we need. It's a mental focus that we have to have. And it's a love for our country that we also have to have. How do you neglect your capital? That will happen in Wales. Right, so I'm saying I am not against a Juve in Roxborough, and I'm not against a Juve in Crown Point. All I'm saying is that more should be done for Scarborough. And I'm saying more should be done purposely in Scarborough. If you ask me where the help should be come from, well, it should come from all of us collectively. And if you listen to the news on Saturday, I had a brief interview there with I think Candice, and I support a second carnival. I think if we have that, that is what our focus is. And I think everybody on the panel shares that. It's funny that Mr. George come and talk about this, Mr. Sanderford talk about it, and it's something that we all see. Now, I am not sure, because I wasn't here, I wasn't privy to be in Tobago when we were having our festival at the time, our Tobago Fest. I wasn't here. But from my own judgment of it, I think we wasn't prepared for the influx of people that was going to be in Tobago and all that. So I say there are a lot of talks need to be done. We need people, brazen people like this lady here, passionate people. Well, everybody here is passionate, very passionate, right? Mr. George is a heavyweight champion in our society. He's a next man. Yeah,
Mr. George opens his eye.
No, he know that too. He know that too. He will open it because he's trying to be immodest, and that's all right. You know, we all know he's a very shrewd attorney. But what I'm saying is that we need more talks among everyone, for the best interest of our product, because it's dying.
Certainly. Well, a lot has been said in the first quarter of the program, but we have to break for a few seconds and then we will return. Welcome back. This is High Five Reloaded, and we are doing an assessment of Carnival 2015, and we are attempting to look at the way forward along with some members of the Carnival fraternity. If you're now joining us, we have Miss Martin George, attorney at law. We also have Beverly Ramsey Moore from Katsin Jammers. We have Miss Aloy Johnson from the Island Mix, spokesperson for Island Mix. And we also have Mr. Terence Sanderford from the chairman of NCBA Tobago. So welcome if you are now joining us. In the first quarter, we spent some time weighing the Secretary's assessment of Carnival versus our assessment of the festival and the events that went throughout the festival. And there seemed to be a common position that we need to begin to look at having at Tobago having a separate and independent festival or carnival from that of Trinidad. Now I'll be happy for it because that'll be extra time off for me. And I actually love camping, so that'll be an extra time for me to camp. But I remember quite clearly when the proposal came to Tobago to the then minister with responsibilities for culture, and that was Winston Gypsy Peters.
Gypsy, yeah.
I also remember as a student, when I was a student at Bishop's, that there used to be the Tobago Fest taking place in the late 90s, thereabout. But that died a natural death, or it was stifled. I don't know what happened to it. It just went out.
I think it was murdered.
It was
because of whose lips it came from.
It was murdered.
Because of whose lips it came from.
But I remembered when the issue of a separate festival came up, there was a loud retort, so to speak, a resounding no from the House of Assembly that has in its schedule of responsibilities the matters pertaining to culture. But are we saying tonight, as persons who are involved intimately with carnival dealings and with culture, that we should take a second look at having a separate and independent festival And how do we go about doing this? I don't know.
Let the dialogue begin.
Yeah.
There is need to have the conversation because we are in a different time. Our young people, they're going to Trinidad, they're going down there to FET,
right.
Army FET.
That's right. That's right.
All the FET, they're
That's
going
right.
down.
That's right.
I have my own children in my
That's
house.
right. That's right.
They're going to Trinidad to party.
Yeah.
And so they want to be a part of the glitz and the glamour
That's
from,
the point.
from Monday and Tuesday. Let us look, I am from the Pan fraternity. Now, in these times, you have sometimes 5, 6 Pan steel band organizations qualifying for the finals. You're talking about that is close to 1,000 persons from Tobago going down to Trinidad for the carnival Saturday. You think all of them coming back to Tobago?
True.
You have half of them staying in Trinidad.
Well, I could
That's
tell you,
right.
I took campus in Trinidad this year. I went rural Trinidad and had to compete on the boat to go down. And to go down was almost chaotic in terms of the numbers at the port.
That's
and
right.
to return on assurance was
That's right.
was near chaotic again.
They are
to
staying
come
down,
back. So
they
I
are-
could tell you that a large
That's
number,
right.
and most of the people were around my age.
That's right.
So clearly they spend the weekend
Oh
down
yes.
there.
Oh yes. Oh yes. And so I'm saying that the time is now for us to have that conversation in Tobago. All
Yeah.
right, and so that we can take a decision. So we need to have the conversation.
The reality.
So let me.
If I may,
oh,
Mr.
you go ahead.
Sanderford, just 1 second. The reality may be that you might actually have more persons leaving Tobago to Trinidad to take part in the festivities
Yes.
than you have actually playing mass in Tobago.
That's right.
So therefore, that must tell you something. So in other words, why then do you want to compete with that at the same time? When you can now get the reverse if you have it at a later time in the year where you have thousands more coming up from Trinidad to join in your festivities and you have a grand celebration of your own in Tobago.
So you think that Tobago can have what those other smaller Eastern Caribbean islands, what they do have now? In that a lot of people go to Barbados or to
Grenada.
Vincia,
In the boat
That's
and they're
right.
going to
Spice
Grenada,
Island,
That's
come to
right.
Tobago.
That's right.
and so on. You think we'll be able to attract that pool of people?
Of course we will.
Visitors?
Of course we will.
Absolutely.
I want to say something here. It would have a Tobago Fest in 2015. It
As
would
in
have
this year,
one. As in
2015?
this year. All right. It would be later down in the year. We would make, from an NCBA perspective, we would make a public announcement in regards to how we go forward. We have to engage the steel bands and the Calypso fraternity as to how and what they want to do. Make no bones about it. It is here already. Dialogue has started long since last year about this because this is our brainchild. It is our brainchild. As a matter of fact, it is my concept. It is my concept, Terrence Sanderford concept. In 1998, I produced the first Tobago Fest. All right? And I'm just saying that our members, they are aware of it. A memorandum of understanding is being developed between the Trinidad aspect of bands and the Tobago aspect because we don't want no abuse taking place. All right? We have already spoken to some major sponsors, and that's it.
So you think you'll be able to get THA buying?
Not really. To be brutally honest, we, the Tobago region, went to the Secretary for Culture and the chairman of the Tobago Carnival Committee, and we spoke to them about the Tobago Fest coming back. But we didn't ask for money from the THA because once you're involved with THA, you have to, it's like who has the finance quality tunes, all right? And so we are doing it on our own and from an independent perspective. And that is why I spoke and I said that we don't really treat with the business community properly. We intend to go to every nook and cranny. Aki who's selling hemp and that kind of thing, we go in and ask him for $100. That is how it is. We're going international, we're going regional, and we're going local to raise funds for this so that it cannot be dictated by nobody else than the people. All right? No, the secretary can't
Sort of an organic sort of build up. Very organically, very from within. From
no
within.
two ways about it. And you know, I'm glad that you're hearing more conversation about it now, because listen, Carnival Monday and Tuesday, anybody I met during that period of time was, what about Tobago Fest? It coming back? What are you doing? That kind of something. And the reality is that it can bring economic value to the island. Remember, the dollar, the oil dollar kind of dwindling still. You know, it might be stabilized right now. But who is to know or to say that in 2 weeks' time you have a depression again? And so we must be guarded against it. We must include the stakeholders. We would have talked to the Chamber of Commerce. We would have talked to the Hoteliers Association, the Taxi Drivers Association, and all the supermarkets, and then we have spoken to all of them to let them know that it's coming, for them to start to develop packages for the visitors, all right? And so we have to talk to Pantry and Bago, we have to talk to Tuco, and so let the games begin.
Yeah, Mr. Johnson, you want to weigh in on
Yeah, well, I think there's one echo of sentiment across the border, which is discussions, and I think that is very important. When we're talking about communication, we're talking about effective communication. And I'm saying that we need to sit down and talk, find out what was the reason why the fest was stopped. We need to sit down and discuss as intelligent, civilized people who care about Tobago's interest and Tobago's product. Let us find out what was the reason why it was stopped in the first place, because we want it back. Like I said, I wasn't here to enjoy it, but lots of good things I heard about it too, and we should have it back, so that the focus could be on bringing what we need in Tobago, which is our product, shining like the stars on the moon. And we're not getting that. I am telling you, I was so depressed on Monday. I don't know if any, and I take this personal. I'm a very patriotic man. I love my country.
I was depressed too.
I tell you, I was depressed Monday. I really was.
And Tuesday.
I kind of didn't cry Tuesday, but Monday I sapped some tears, and this is the honest truth. I'm telling you, I was very saddened the way Scarborough looked Monday night. And you know, you were talking about some things for the Caribbean, and I'm going to tell you, Island Mix, that is what we are going to do. That is why you have, the name speaks for itself. We are going to different countries, and we're doing it this year too, different islands, and bring people together, and that is the impetus of what we want to do. That is Island Mix thing. And Island Mix, watch me, you realize that our impetus was to bring back Juve in Scarborough. That was our main focus, and we did a band launching November 28th, 2014, and that was the reason, the precursor for what was going to happen in Scarborough, bringing back the Juve. And we're not going to stop till that happens. Collectively, it's going to happen.
No, he's saying that, you know, he was sad and he wanted to cry and all of that. Really and truly, when you look at what was happening in town Monday and Tuesday, it was sickening. Plain talk, it was sickening when you, in terms of the mass and the improvement, and people, you know, sometimes we look on the television, or your friends calling them, Ramsey Moore, what really going on the TV there, girl, yeah, see what taking place. I said, oh God, a shame. And that is the conversation. There is a decline in production, in our management, in everything re-carnival in Tobago. And I'm saying too, I'm going to make, and I'm more bones about that, we need to take the politics out of the mass.
That.
Let us look at Carnival.
We need to take...
As you're talking about the Monday and Juve and so on, I know that there are some young fellas, some of whom were my classmates and so on, with the Bagatelle Dirty Camp, who is trying some innovative things with the modern, colored modern song.
Kudos to them.
And,
absolutely.
And they seem to be getting a
Yes.
big following, quite some popularity and so on. Maybe that kind of innovation is required.
Yes, kudos to them. But our traditional mass, our old mass, do you know when I was a little girl, afraid of Abyssinia? You're afraid to come in, jump. You You know how nice it is when my father put me up on the float on Captain Jama's float to take a ride on the float, on the pan and so on. No pan.
None in Scarborough.
No marshal. No, you know you're supposed to have your marshals on the ground. So when the mass band come in, your marshal organizing, all right, mass band. Pan coming up, the marshal telling the DJs, nothing. No organization. Listen, I am saying.
And Pandisios were done by the
And
Coast Guard.
Mr. I want to divert here a little bit. In that, if it is that you don't train your people, then they can't perform the duties. The marshals and them are not being trained. As a matter of fact, but as a matter of fact, they operating in a kind of archaic way. Stand up and wait until a band comes. It doesn't. It is not so.
Political people to give them marshal.
It is not so. But all right.
It is the story.
I outed that one.
I know you say. I could say. I was a member of the Tobago House of Assembly, and for what I am seeing passing as Carnival in Tobago, I am embarrassed.
What is happening?
So I could say that.
Is
I
that
know.
marshals supposed to be on the route, bringing bands up to a certain point, relaying communication back to master control to say exactly if it is that there's a problem or that kind of thing. You see, we have to look at it from a holistic position. It is not only mass and pan suffering, but the administration of it, is the critical thing.
Yes.
And if it is that you don't have proper persons in the administrative aspect of the carnival, it ain't gonna go away. It are people who might just want to say, well, look, I'll pay here, I eating our food here, and that's it. They don't have the passion behind it. And it goes to say that you have to overhaul the thing. You have to overhaul it if it is you want it to work. You have to put proper people with the vision as to the way forward, how they want to see it or how a team want to see it. Look, we now going and start old mass in schools. You know why? We see it as twofold, as bringing back old mass into the realm of carnival, one, also teaching the children how to write, how to express themselves, because you must be intelligent to produce a old mass band, There can't be no Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, well, it's about the use of the metaphors.
All right. And so we have to go back and teach and try to get people to understand that's how it is. Republic Bank years ago used to have a competition downstairs in the bank, a old man and carnival competition. We need to talk to the business community to say, listen, let us start doing these things again. Let us approach them. Let us see what can happen. When you start doing that, you would get an improvement. But don't expect an improvement in 2016 unless I take charge of it.
Therefore, the evaluation. As soon as Carnival is over,
Evaluate.
you sit down and you talk.
Have a post-mortem.
That's right. You
Post-analysis.
sit down. Where do we go from here? What were the problems? How do we treat with those challenges? And
So none is scheduled?
But I think the
Carnival just went
the
last
Secretary of
weekend, so none is
Culture
scheduled.
did the analysis, and she said it was fantastic. She said it was a success.
Look, let me tell you something. One of the problems with bands coming out late is that there's a grant offered to band leaders that if it is that you're registered in a small band category, you must meet the requirements, otherwise the whole grant is taken back from you. And what I'm saying, it is draconian in the sense that somebody might bring a small band, now starting want to bring a small band, and they might only have 18 or 20 people. What we're saying is that to protect the treasury, because it have carpetbaggers between there, carpetbaggers, all right, between there. And so to protect the treasury, what you need to do is to have on a sort of pro rata basis a reduction. So you fall short by 2 people, we're not taking back the whole grant because it's draconian. But we take off a percentage from it. Now, the other thing too is that once it is that a band leader don't have that 20, they're moving away. because they know they're losing the grant, they have to pay it back and that kind of thing.
Oh, so they're trying to
they
make the numbers
right,
up before they come out.
Right.
You have to scrape up on the side. And
That is it, right? So they wait.
But
and
there's another element I see in Trinidad all the time, which is the role of the performing artists, the singers, the musicians, beside Pan on Carnival Monday and Tuesday, and the big trucks performing, keeping the crowds entertained and so on. Well, you know the likelihood of them coming to Tobago versus performing in Trinidad. It's slim to none because
it's a dollars and cents issue.
And that's where the crowd is actually. But for our local artists, I've been hearing some of the local songs and so on, like from Custom Cupid and Battle 4 and so on. What role do they have in all of this and in the whole weekend of activities?
Very integral. Yeah. It cannot happen with it. Listen, this is about everybody, you know.
Exactly.
This cannot be sectionized and because you have a red jersey or you have a green jersey or a blue jersey, whatever it is, you know. This is for Tobago. This is for the development of Tobago. Right. I want to ask you, you talk about big truck hunting and you was in camp?
no, it is. We live in
internet.
In such a world that I am in camp and
no, your song like if it was in
internet.
I'm in camp and I seen the posting of photos and videos and so on.
Internet.
All about, and I seen all the arguments, people tagging me in the arguments, hoping to get my comments.
All right, so you was jumping. Let me respectfully interrupt you and jump in if I may. As a band leader, okay, and as an expression of our culture and want to see our product move forward, I think the price for band leaders should go up. There should be more monies allocated. There are monies allocated to do other things. Allocate and put on some more money so that band leaders can get bigger price. If you do that, it's an incentive. So we have to offer more price incentive, and I'm passionate about this one. I ain't playing. We should offer some more incentive so that bands come out earlier and good money too. No PR money.
What's the money is now? What's the price money now like?
Me and Mr. Sanderford put a budget together in 2012, and it gets shut down. But if that budget was there, I could guarantee you we would have more people showing better interest. Let me tell you why. They're asking us, band leaders, to lift the quality of your product, lift the quality of your costume. We want to see it glitzing. We want to see it bright. We want to see it make sense. We don't want no banana bush stuff. We want to see something that makes sense. After all, it's an expression of our culture. So let's see something nice. Okay, if that's the case, offer some more incentive price-wise. This is my problem. I have a serious issue with that, where monies are going in areas that it's not supposed to go. And we are neglecting what we're supposed to embrace. I have a serious problem with that. Carnival is ours. It's our culture, it's our expression. If that dies, we die. Now, Christian people may not share my views, and that's okay. That's fine. But at the end of the day, it's our culture, Trinidad and Tobago Carnival. What are we doing? Offer some more monies to band leaders. Let them bring better quality of mass too.
I support him 100%.
Thank you, ma'am.
Same thing for Pan. Now, I'm trying to take my time here because you see, I saw a post on Facebook just before I arrived at the studio. Shaw Park Complex, done. Library, done. Talk, done. Now, that was by the Deputy Chief Secretary.
I saw the post.
And I am saying, it's my good friend.
I read the different comments.
You see what you're talking about? Where more money is? So all this cost overrun for all these years. Over how much years I take to build it? 10 years. And you would put up on Facebook.
More than 10.
11
more than 10.
11 for the library.
More than 10, yeah.
Complex done.
Library
done. Talk done. But all the millions of dollars that you waste, you see me?
Well,
I feel like I put on my political hat again.
No, but the
that
complex
upset me.
Yeah.
Is no way the
That upset
complex
me.
was designed for Carnival.
That's right.
It
That's
definitely is a disconnect between the artist and the audience. And then
That's a theater.
No, but it's also a disconnect between what the needs of Tobago really represent.
That's right.
You know?
Carnival is a street line.
Yeah, it's a street theater.
You take interdepartmental competition and
I cried.
I mean, these people don't care about us in a talk done. All your talk done. Where's the time with all the talk done?
I can remember going down there
I didn't want to get
towards the Calypso finals.
I say when I read pants tonight.
Talk done.
Watching the Calypso finals, and then Explainer was a guest artist. And Explainer had to come up into the audience. He even started to sing, man, only friggin' dance. That was an expression because he wasn't getting the vibes. You see, as I said earlier on, if you don't have the spirit of carnival, the energy of carnival, then you ain't have no carnival.
Yeah.
All right? People sitting down in the complex, like they're waiting for Pavarotti.
Very good.
All right?
Well, that's what that building was designed for. That's what theater
You
lends
can't,
itself.
you can't chew chewing gum, you can't drink a beer, you can't smoke a cigarette, and that is what carnival is about. It's I see in Martin about, oh God, look how long I see a boy take a drink. That is carnival. Yeah. And if you don't have that expression being expressed, you're wasting time.
So
we now want to look for a venue for carnival.
We'll come back on issue with venue. We have to go to a short break. But tonight we are having an extended session. We're going on until 9:30 this evening. So we'll be back shortly. Welcome back. This is High Five Reloaded, and as you may realize that even during the break, the discussion keep heating up here. I was just sharing with the panelists that I'm privileged to be associated with the Speyside High Steel Orchestra and the Speyside Steel Sensations coming out of the high school in Speyside, and I shared some of my experience with them in terms of taking the students down to Trinidad to play, and that experience at the Savannah and the drag and so many people coming around to listen, and so even before you get onto the stage to play and all of that. And I was trying to have them compare that experience there with the experience in Tobago, not indicating that we should necessarily have the same experience, but do we have an experience that is comparable to what occurs down in Trinidad? Now bills itself as the greatest show on it. Do we have an experience that is comparable?
Not at all. In Trinidad they say it's a big yard. And the yard itself is a symbol of togetherness, a symbol of love. You know your yard, you come in my yard, you're yard. So in Trinidad, that whole Savannah feeling is as though you're
the Mecca.
The Mecca in the big yard. And even going up on the drag itself is an experience. Our young people, they can't wait to go down to Trinidad to line up with those
and
bands.
Of course, the stage. Because that is what it is. The stage is it.
And that pushing at the racks, it is an experience. And these people wanted to take it away from us.
But I've also noted, while looking at the results, that Tobago are quite to the top. Even if a band don't win, the arranger is.
This is not the first year,
I know.
About 900 years this happening.
I know this is not 900. I know this is not the first year, but it tells to the quality of some of our panels. But there's the next question I want to ask you.
Happening?
Here's the next question I want to ask you, because pan is an integral part of the entire experience.
That's right.
Yes.
But I have been observing that several of the pan sites, I mean, not say most, several pan sites have import labor.
That's right.
Right? And being imported panists to play. What impact does that have on the local pan fraternity and our ability to grow the fraternity and skill players on the island and so on?
All right. Most of the panists that I guess as you say imported are frontline players. We really short. And the bands in Tobago are really short on the frontline players. So some of the bands really, they bring up a lot of players. Some people bring up 40, some bring up 50, some bring up 10.
So much?
Because at the end of the day, it's a business to it.
Yeah.
All right? It's a business. You go in for, most of the bands in medium band category, you go in for 600,000. All right? That's the first prize. And it's 90 players. Now, to get 90 players coming out of any single community, it's difficult. And I'm going to talk from my band in particular. Now, what has happened over the years is that we have a set 15 players from Trinidad that we use. We have been using them for 5 years now. So it's more of a relationship that we have developed because, you know, I am a youth mentor. And I am not going and pick up people from all over Trinidad to come into my band with their bad habits and no. No. You think you can't come from all over and smoking whatever and cigarette and playing pan and drinking beer and playing pan. We have rules. Even the great Len Bugsy Sharp, when he was arranging for Cats and Jammers, could not smoke in my pan yard. Could not smoke a cigarette, so you have to go outside, smoke, get the vibes and come back in. So you have to set your rules. So we have 15, and I am not ashamed to say we have 15 basically frontline players that we use every single year. And you know what? In Trinidad, they represent Cats and Jammers because that is part of the band, that is a band. When they had Renegades at a boat line recently, and I am watching that pictures on Facebook, they said the boat line was about to represent your band. When I look, I see Sharice and all of them down there in the Cats and Jammers jerseys. So even if we didn't have anybody from Tobago, Cats and Jammers was represented in the boat line. So that is the kind of love and affinity that we have with respect. So some of the bands do it. And I mean, if you bring up some players and they cause you to win the Panorama $600,000 and you have to pay them whatever, you still make something. So I mean, Trinidad and Tobago. And some players from Tobago go down to Trinidad and play with the large band to get that. It's a different feeling, It's a different experience.
But Mr. Ramsey, I want to ask something. The pan in school, how that is progressing?
I'm not too okra with that. I know that it was under the Division of Education, but I do not know what is happening.
Well, because that might be a way to solve some of the problems.
I could answer to that because we are part of that program at Speyside. Easily we could get 50, maybe 60 players, and we have several players who play for us. And after they train by us, we have to provide transport to get them out of Speyside because then they have varying other sites to go and practice for nights.
It's ongoing. It's
an ongoing thing. And then they have the secondary schools and primary school competitions nationally. Unfortunately, for the last 6 years or so, Speyside has been the only school band from Tobago to participate in the junior, except for 1 year Goodwood participated in those last 5 years. So we have not had the participation of the Tobago schools at the national level, except for Speyside, really. But I know
you're doing next year.
Yes, and we are proud of it. But I know for a fact that the assembly has outfitted most secondary schools with pans. Some are very new pans and so on. But you know, of course, we have a culture of purchasing the equipment, purchasing the hardware, but we won't have the software to drive it. So there are brand new pans in some of the schools like Roxborough and so on. But where are the people to come and do the training and education and mentoring and so on. And luckily for us, we have Royal Axeback titles on our side.
That's right.
And so much so that it was a student, some student
who
arranged
this year's,
that's right, who did the arrangement all on his own, having learnt over time from Mr. Titus. A student who's our head boy did the arrangement, and that's the kind of programming you want to keep this.
And so what you can probably do is to link a school band to a community. Or link one of the schools, for example, if you want to link Bishops to Redemption Songsetters, Signal Hill to Cats and Jammers, and I don't know if it can work like that.
Yes,
link a school band to a community. And even with the primary schools, so you can also link them.
But I must say that I know Signal Hill has a side, they want the Tobago juniors. Goodwood also has a side, and that plays in the Tobago.
You see, here the thing about it, we have it in the schools, but to reach to the pan side, there's some stuttering, and that's what we need to check. We need to go back from the base and see why it is stuttering, because it should be an easy conduit for Signal Hill to go into Cats and Jammers, or Bethesda to go into Cats and Jammers, or something like that. It shouldn't have no stuttering. And so we must investigate and find out.
Right. That's
right.
Is the ministry, is the Division of Education and Culture, Education and Sports, doing what is required? Are they seeing about the required personnel to come and teach Japan and to operate as mentors and that kind of something? You see, Mr. Augustine, this thing is not a quick fix, eh? And we cannot wait until next year Carnival to start it. We have to do it now.
Right.
We have to do it now.
We should have been.
Well, I want to talk about
we shouldn't be talking about
a
this now.
3-year plan.
Yeah.
So in a sense, we need some sort of strategic planning to save this thing. So maybe a 5-year plan.
What seems to me to be fairly obvious is that there's a complete disconnect between the politicians who control the purse strings and make the administrative decisions and the actual stakeholders. It seems that they want to dictate to the stakeholders how they want it. But the stakeholders are the ones who actually have the knowledge and the ability to execute. So I think there really needs to be a transference of both responsibility and authority and resources to the stakeholders. Let them make the decisions and let them take charge of it.
My sentiment exactly. And here what happened. Every year, this is what happened. Mr. Sanderford just said something, you know, like he just read my mind. We waiting until 2 months before Carnival to try to hustle up something. And not only that, right, and not only that, is that we are the people who are in charge, we are treating it like it's a new job. We don't know nothing about this. We know learning how to do it. I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous. It should be a smooth flow. So what does that tell you? That tells you, which is what I said before, the declining of Carnival in Scarborough in every aspect is a symptoms of the real problem in our society, which is a lack of communication. People do what they want. The people at the top do what they want. There's no communication to find out what the people want. Actually, people want, if you are in, I don't want to get too into politics. Honestly, I really don't want to get that. But if you're serving in a political arena, you're supposed to serve the people. And you're supposed to do what the people want. But you have to create an arena for that as well. So to me, there's no creation of an arena where discussion can be held in a continuous manner, where what does the public want? What it is we are doing, why people are leaving to go to Carnival, to Trinidad for Carnival. If you ask a guy to pay, a person to pay $150 to join a band in Tobago, say, who may I spend no Carnival in Tobago, but they would pay $3,500 to be in a band in Trinidad.
What is the cost of a costume in Tobago on average?
Yeah, I tell you from 150 and probably
about 2,000.
Yeah, 1,500, 2,000.
Yeah.
And they don't mind paying $3,500 for a band in Trinidad. So this is my point. And
the experience, I guess, they're paying for.
Well, yes,
but that's what Sanderford said.
Yes, those are the facts. But they need to be listened to. So if you don't want to listen to me, I'm going to spend my money where I want and forget the patriotic business now. You understand me? And that's where the declining come in.
Mr. Augustine, look at this. Members of the Tobago region decided that we're not treated well on the road with the music and with the mass, and it's the one stretch everybody, you know, all the judging taking place, same points. So we said, okay, the proposal was put forward to the Carnival Committee. Okay, we're going to set up a pan city opposite the Coast Guard base. I expected, based on that proposal, the Carnival Committee would say, Pan Trinbago, you're crazy. You must have pan on the road for Carnival.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let us talk and work it out. Absolutely. But no, they say, all right, only one pan city, go down in pan city. And
who is that Coast Guard base?
Behind going back.
When we thought that there would be
Exactly.
So when we thought that there would have been dialogue, because you have to understand that you cannot have mass and everything else on the road and no pan. You must have pan. You know that bomb tune?
Oh God.
Take the ribbon. You play that nice going down the road. Slow bomb tune. You must have bomb tune. You must have Monday night pan. But all I want, we say, all right, because of the treatment on the road and so on, no dialogue, no discussion. Only one pan city, so here what happened? So we decided to put up the tents and so on and put up a banner called Pan City. But you know, they send mass down there to be to get ready, so they go down there to dress and get ready. So when the time comes, pan going down, mass down, they're changing their clothes, everybody take up the tent, everything turn old mass down in Pan City.
That problem didn't emanate from the mass fraternity yet, because some years gone by, we would have started our competition there. All right. I think again, as you were saying, dialogue, no dialogue. All right, and that's the reason for it. You know. But I don't think to the authorities respect the fraternity, the carnival. I don't think so. I think they treat it as whatever. You know?
Maybe, you see, it speaks to a governance culture that we have.
That's right.
I have noticed alarmingly, and something I've commented on in writing on the papers, that we have we have a culture of big government, big governance.
That's right.
Where we somehow think that once I'm elected, I must do everything. I must have a hand in everything. I have the final say in everything.
Micromanage.
So that's right. So at no point do I allow systems to work for me. I try to work everything. And if I don't do that, I don't feel like I'm working. But what that does is that it stifles creativity from the people, from the electorate. It doesn't allow the people to birth anything new, because you are doing it all yourself.
No, but it's just political control that they really want, and that's what it comes down to. And then with that, you have the nepotism and the favoritism, and my people. So whether my people know anything about carnival or bringing out a band or anything, you put them in positions because those are your people or your supporters, and that's the problem in Tobago.
Yes.
That is what has been happening.
Absolutely.
That's what has been happening.
Smallness of the society.
Yes.
Absolutely, Mr. George. And it's not only that our society is riddled with nepotism, but status quo. We don't want to jump away from status quo. It ain't working, but let us do it anyway. It's always there. I mean, what kind of myopic way of thinking is that?
But that's insanity, doing the same things over and over, expecting a different result.
Status quo, it ain't working, but that is the way it always is, so let us do it anyway.
Yes, certainly. I think we will take a break at this time. Remember, we are going until 9:30 this evening. So if by chance you're now switching to the stations and you realize that High Five is on, we'll be on for the next 25 minutes. We'll have a break at this time. Extended discussion this evening. We have been discussing Tobago Carnival 2015. We have been looking at the way forward. If you're now joining us, we'll be here for the next 24 minutes or so. And we have been going through many issues. Now, I really wish that we would have had Mr. Gordon here this evening, or probably even the secretary herself, or somebody from that side to defend some of their actions and so on, because they have been taking quite a beating this evening for Carnival 2015. But I don't want you to leave thinking that we are being unfair. An invitation was extended, and I will go out on a limb and say the invitation is still extended. We have varying programs through which anybody associated with the execution of Carnival 2015 can come onto Tobago Channel 5 and could explain the methods to their madness, so to speak. So we have High Five loaded. We have the morning program. You are welcome at any time to contact us and to make a showing and to present your case, because we need to have all the sides to the story. But I noticed this year in Trinidad, and it has been so for quite a number of years, where the thrust has been to pull in some of the American celebrities into the carnival as a way of promoting the festival. But what is additional this year is that we have social media being at an all-time high. We have the Twitter, the Instagram, that has gone past where Facebook was and is. And so we had the Amber Rose and the Idris Albas and so on here. And of course, they have the nice tweets of enjoying themselves in Trinidad and on the beach and in the cool down and all sorts of stuff. Is that a worthwhile strategy for Tobago, given that Tobago our economy is still heavily tourism driven, service sector driven? Is that a worthwhile strategy for us to think of?
Unequivocal no.
We can't even begin to think of that. If you can't even keep your local people here for your carnival, you really think you're going to get foreign celebrities coming in? We need to change our product and have something that people want to come
They will
to
be
in the
here in
first
September.
place.
Absolutely.
But maybe they come for Heritage Festival.
An unequivocal no. And it's sending a bad message too. You see, Trinidad could do that to help promote the soca monarch and them, the monarch and that kind of stuff, and nothing is wrong with that. Just like in America, one of the great products is American football, and they promote it like crazy still. They don't need to do that, you know. But like Mr. Sanderford said before, and we all agree, it's a spirit. It puts you in the mood psychologically. It have you fired up.
And then what happens is, in terms, I gotta make a comparison with American football, because what happens with American football is that you have an entire economy, an entire microeconomy revolving around the football. So you have your merchandising element, those who sell jerseys and souvenirs and so on. You have offers at restaurants and so on. You have special placement for ads, and the price for advertisements go up and so on. So there's a whole economy revolving around this one event, which is a football.
Right.
So it stands to reason that given the magnitude of Carnival to Trinidad and Tobago, and how much of state resources, how much of our state resources go into this thing, that an entire economy should be revolving around it. And I see it happening in Trinidad, but Tobago, I don't quite see that.
Right, and this is what we need to be doing. This is, you see, it should be sustained throughout the year. We start to get a little bit when 2 months before Carnival. I'm talking about in Tobago. You know, two months, it must be 2 weeks before Carnival. We start to get kind of, we need to jumpstart the car a little bit, and that's why I brought the comparison. I lived in the United States for a number of years, you know, and I had to bring that comparison because we have the ability here, we have the money to do it where it can be sustained. We could have pan playing throughout the year, competition throughout the year, giving people the carnival vibe all the time, and keep our culture and our product interesting continuously. But we're not doing that. And then when we look at the decline, we all look at each other and say, wow, go on a Scarborough. What happened here? What happened here is that we're not dialoguing and we're not showing any patriotic love for our product and our beautiful island called Tobago. You understand? And this is why I kept saying all this time that the symptoms, what you see in Scarborough, is a symptoms of what goes on in our society for real. Call the people together. Let us talk. Let us dialogue. Let us see what we want. Call all the fraternity together and give them a chance to do what they need to do. Because you are no expert in no pan. I can't say it have nobody in the festival commissions that are not expert in pan. What I am saying is that. Okay, good, and I'm glad she said that. What I am saying is that allow the people who are expert to do what they need to do, and you'll see Carnival slowly going back.
Here the other thing, Aloy. You could have dialogue for 365, you know, and nobody care and say, look, all right, we had dialogue, but we going so. And that's the problem. They're not listening as to how
they might be hearing but not listening.
And so
that's the difference.
And that's the reason why we say, look, listen, this must be a privately driven something. Get the private sector involved. All right, so that it cannot be on the whims and fancy of some person in the assembly saying, no, we don't want that, we don't that kind of something. That's the reason why. We need to look at it from a strictly entrepreneurial position, whereby we could develop it, that the true sponsorship we can get. Because all the big sponsors pump money down the road, a separate event, they will pump money.
That's right.
And that's what it is, you know, the reality.
Because the numbers will be there. The numbers will be there.
You could imagine members from All Stars or whatever it is coming up here to play in our fest panorama.
Thank you.
With Cats and Jammers or our boys, whoever it is.
50 members, 50 persons.
Right?
Level playing.
But here what happened? With that 50 brings an entire entourage, you know.
Of course.
You're talking pan pusher, man who just love pan, the family, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so the guest houses would be filled.
Everybody will benefit.
Everybody
will benefit.
everybody.
The taxi drivers, the restaurants, everybody will benefit
Everybody
from
will
it.
benefit.
Right.
I could remember the first Tobago Fest. It had guys with a little put, a little card, getting the rent out for 150 at that time.
Yeah.
It used to be, right, 150. It didn't have place for people to stay because all them guest houses, guy now putting up a little thing there. All right, I go stay there. You go throw a mattress there, I go stay there. That's the kind of energy. Let me tell you something. Tobago Fest lost its mooring because a set of carpetbaggers took it over and was just looking to feed. That's the reason. All right?
Eat a food.
Eat a food. Is different. It's more embracing. It's more dialogue taking place, and we need to start that conversation on a wider scale now. More people need to start to talk about it. That kind of something.
I just want to bring back something on pan. All right, we have sometimes 5 medium bands participating in the medium band category in Trinidad. From a THA standpoint, I think it should be a much more forward thinking. I can see the Secretary for Culture going down to Trinidad or inviting them up to a meeting, having discussions. 10 bands in the medium bands final. Let's have the medium band category in Tobago.
Bring up the 5.
Yeah.
Bring up the 5.
Yeah, that's right.
Bring up
Yes,
5.
that's right.
That's how we have to go down and fill up all them
Yeah.
hotel and pantry and Tobago paying how much money. Bring up the 5. Let's, and you know what,
right.
people coming up to us.
Yes.
Let's have the medium band category because Tobago bands dominate the medium band category. You know.
That's correct.
We have 4 5
Let
bands
us have. You have to be
consistently in the
forward
finals.
thinking. You have to have depth. But shallow. I don't want to use it. I don't want to use it.
I am also a member of NCBA, but so I let Mr. Sanderford do what he need to do when it comes to that, because truly I trust that man. He's part of the reason I am so involved in Carnival. His passion just get me. Stop that, please. His passion just grab me. Because I know he can do it. He can run this whole carnival by himself. He has the ability, the brains. I've seen his work. But let me just say this. We discussed something in our meeting in NCBA, which I think would be a great idea. And you'll hear it first on Channel 5 outside of our meeting. Jazz, a lot of people come here for jazz. Let us have a parade. Let us have bands with some of the costume and doing a parade and some pan.
Beautiful.
We could block off a road and do
Beautiful.
it. People will come. We advertise it. It's a way to showcase our mass too.
No, this pan proposal in jazz. No, listen.
No. I'm not.
Hold on. You know, as any good host, I have to probe the thing. I could recall signing a petition probably last year or year before that Mr. Leacock would have had up trying to get Duvon Franklin to perform in any one of the jazz festivals, any one of the events. It never really happened. It just never took place. And that is one person.
Yes.
Who has the record? Who is one of the Duvon's story? Who has to his belt and to his credit 12
single pan in all 21 or something.
21,
like that.
20 something in all.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So and Tobagoan, indigenous, born, bred Tobagoan, and we die Tobagoan. And that did not happen. So for that to happen, are you going to do it as a fringe event, meaning that you just do your own thing as a fringe event, or are you going to try to sell it to the division of tourism?
No, we'll do it that way first, and then you boast because you know it will work. It will make an indelible imprint in our society, and I'll tell you why. If we, Ms. Ramsey, bring a few people from Cats and Jammer, which is the best pan on earth, right?
Our boys,
Bring
boy,
them,
you know, we know.
bring them our boy,
the oldest playing steel band in Tobago. Cats and Drummers
Sweet
Steel
music.
Orchestra.
I pay money to go and see
That's right.
those guys.
Yeah, we good. We
Sweet
good.
music.
Yeah.
So we good, you're patting yourself on the back too, like
Right, so we have her bringing some pan. Our NCBA people, we bring, if the rest doesn't want to come, our NCBA bring our band leaders, encourage our band leaders.
Yeah.
We will find a way to raise some funds and we will do it. And I promise you, after that, there will be dialogue.
Yeah.
Because it will help
Of course,
to promote
of
our
course.
product.
Of course.
I guarantee it will work.
And
So we're not
you see,
depending on anybody. for
so
no
you
money
see
to
that-
do it.
that-
This is what we need. We need innovative thinking.
Thank you, sir.
And new ideas. And you're not getting that from the persons who currently occupy the positions of power in the THA. They have antiquated ideas, antiquated ways of doing things, and they are not open to new, thinking or new learning, because sometimes people feel threatened when new ideas come along because they are not able to handle it or they don't know how to relate to it. So they feel to stay in their comfort zones. But that idea is a brilliant idea.
That's
and you
right.
then would be able to actually
you.
extend
That's
the
right.
jazz to a whole week or
Of
maybe a
course.
week and a half, 2 weeks, because you have a series of events. You could then have like one
Street
section
parade,
where you deal
yes.
with the old time carnival.
Oh, yeah.
Like one day, the bats, all the
Midnight
other
Robbers,
characters, the Pierrot,
Boko
Grenade,
Jumbies.
all those things. You have that one night. Then you have the pretty mass one day. And the crowds that you get from jazz will double, triple. And you can then have Tobago really, realizing its potential.
And then the jazz festival is not too far off from Carnival in terms of the time. So it could probably be sold as a lanyard.
That's right.
Yes.
You call it
And
that?
somewhat-
A carnival
I
lanyard.
have a lanyard because
Those,
for
even
the
people
lanyard.
from Trinidad who didn't get a chance to take part in Trinidad Carnival might come up and say, well, hey, lanyard.
Yeah, man.
You know?
I like the name
You just
lanyard.
come up with the name. I like
Just
Lanyard.
let me we have been looking at the THA and looking at the Carnival Committee. Let's shine some of the spotlight inwardly now. Looking at Tobago, and CBA Tobago, and the varying organizations that represent varying aspects of Carnival in Tobago. And it would appear to me as if over the last couple of years, we have not had united fronts from these organizations. So we have NCBA, but then we have some other mass leaders in another section by themselves. You will have Tobago, but somehow there's this quiet within, or what the executive negotiates on behalf of the Pan fraternity is not what the Pan fraternity wants, and so on. And maybe
Don't forget Tuco Tobago.
and then there's Tuco Tobago, which is almost constantly embroiling in controversy, especially with a president that almost seems like Mugabe could never lose an election. So how could we clamor for more if we can't get the folks on the ground who are intimately involved in doing the carnival to really come together and say this is what we want? When the carnival committee hears 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 completely different proposals as to how we could get this thing done, how do we begin to bring these people together? Because one thing to say, we want carnival in September, we're going to have this during jazz, but if the fraternities within themselves are not united, you could end up having a problematic event.
Now, Mr. Augustine, I know that my earlier statement with respect to the Festivals Commission, I'm going to say it again. You cannot have a Festivals Commission and not have major players from the various organizations a part of your Festivals Commission. You could have a festival. So Pan is a part of the festival, so Panorama and Carnival are part of it. You cannot set up a festivals commission, whether you want to have a subcommittee to the commission or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
But you must have a representative from Pan, Mass, and Calypso on the festivals commission.
Yes, commissioners.
Full stop. Because even if you have heritage festival, Pan is with heritage.
That's right.
Pan is a part of it. Pan is community soul and community life, you know. So you need that. Mass is the heritage. So festivals commission is only to treat with Tobago Heritage Festival alone. So we start off on the wrong footing the one time.
One time.
That's correct.
And that is the crux of the matter. We do not have a festival commission that is representative of the various organizations or parent bodies out there. And until we fix that, we ain't going nowhere.
And then you have a bunch of band leaders that are disconnected. Chaos again. And you see,
What is the cause of their disconnect?
the what?
What is the cause for their disconnect? From
I
the
think it's just
residential?
what I was saying before, this shifting mentality that we need, this way, this myopic way of thinking that we all have in us, that we have to fight down one another or think that you're band better than this, and not understanding that collectively we can make a beautiful flower garden. Yeah. I think this is where it comes in. So you see what Ms. Ramsey is talking about there, plus the band leaders who are not connected to go to them as a body, as one body, to say, you can't tell us what to do. All you need to do is to facilitate us. Until that happens.
So on that festival commission, you have Pan, you have Mass, you have Calypso,
Exactly.
so the leadership,
Right.
they are to enable, they are to collaborate, they are to bring people together to talk. They are the ones. So
yes.
this band leaders, because in Pan, when it's Panorama time, it's friendly rivalry going on the road, you know. So you will have that. But if the leadership showing that united front, then you won't have problems with the member bands and so on. You won't have problems with the member bands.
Certainly. And do you think that that those in authority, those with responsibility for varying cultural art forms, that they're actually smiling that there is friction and
Yes.
so?
Divide and
Well, yes,
rule.
divide and rule.
Divide
because
and rule
that
the
way,
people.
you see, it comes back to the point of control. And that's what
Divide
they
and rule,
always
you
want.
run through.
Once they can control you, then of course they have the upper hand, and that's what they want. And we have to understand that as a population in Tobago and recognize that, look, if we need to change things, we have to change that mindset and that thinking. We have to start thinking Tobago first. Forget which party you are in and which political, support you want to give. Let us think Tobago first and see how we can make this a better place for all of us.
That's right.
Because we have the potential.
Yes.
I have traveled all over, and I can tell you, Tobago is one of the best places in the world.
That's right.
And I honestly believe that passionately. But we are wasting our potential. We are allowing our politicians to divide and conquer us. We are allowing them to do things like, to say, what it is you said, show park done. Library done. Talk done. I mean, that is so contemptuous. That is so contemptuous of the people. As you say, wasting millions of dollars,
That's right.
and then you say, well,
Talk
look,
done. Talk done. Let's take
basically,
that.
keep quiet, shut
Yeah,
up.
shut up.
No, it's now 9:26, so we have like about 4 minutes remaining, right? So I will say 3 minutes. I think
3 minutes.
The producer is saying to me. So we will have last sentiments, but I'll start with you, Mr. Sanderford, and come all the way to Mr. George.
I said my piece already. You
So
know.
you're good?
I'm studying Carnival right now on thing, I study in Tobago Fest.
And you're preparing for Tobago Fest?
Yeah. That's how
the
it is.
reality is, private. This is still a capitalist country, at least in theory. So there's room for the private sector.
I want you to
and
bring me
private
back
people
here.
to-
I want you to bring me
to
back
do it.
here by myself.
No problem. We can work that. We'll work that out. We'll work that out. I'll talk to you for
And I'm going to talk to you more about Tobago Fest.
No problem. We are open to that.
Okay, my last few words. Give band leaders more money. Give all the various interest groups more money as an incentive to carry our carnival through. And I'm going to look right into one of these cameras. Which one I should look into? That one there.
Yes,
and this is
correct.
what I will say to every single Tobagonian. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Mr. Clausen.
Where there is a will, there is a way. It is not too late. Our leaders need to sit down, talk, have dialogue with the people. Let's have the conversation for change. We definitely have to change course. and you were to talk to everybody, it does not matter what political affiliation, what religion, whatever. Use people on their strengths. We have the people here in Tobago that can make a solid contribution to the development of our Tobago Carnival. And I look forward to the day where we can all sit around the table to have the discussion as to the way forward for our Tobago Carnival.
Mr. George?
Well, I'm particularly heartened by the discussion we've had tonight because it tells me that the stakeholders and the persons who are really representative of the various interests, they have the ideas, they know what they want, they know what they can achieve, and it's really up to us to ensure that the politicians basically take the hands off and allow them to come forward and let them take the lead, let them take charge, and they will transform Tobago. They will.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being High Five Reloaded. I came this evening for a simple discussion about Carnival 2015, and I got a lot more than I bargained for, a lot more. My Facebook page is blowing up with all sorts of comments. But thank you for viewing, and keep watching Tobago Channel 5. Have a good evening.